What's up everybody, if you that don't know me, my name is Chris, aka Mr. Grow It, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This episode is the first episode of a new grow series. VivoSun is sponsoring this grow series, and they challenged me to do an entire grow only using their grow equipment. Now at first I didn't think they had everything needed to grow indoors, but to my surprise they basically do. The only things they don't have are soil and nutrients. So challenge accepted. Here in episode 1, we will cover setting up the equipment and planting seeds. Episode 2 will cover the vegetation stage. Episode 3 will be the flowering stage. And then the final episode, episode 4, will be harvest, dry, and cure. I'm gonna get pretty detailed in these videos, so for those of you who are beginners, should be able to understand. Before we get into the episode, know that all products shown or mentioned in this video will be linked in the description section below. All right, let's get into it. The first thing to set up is the VivoSun grow tent, which comes in this box. This is a 2 foot by 4 foot grow tent. Here are the frame's end pieces. Out comes the poles, which are sorted in different sizes. They've included a catalog which shows their products. Here is the instruction manual, a thank you card, and some tape. I assume they include this tape in case there are any pinholes to patch up. It's very important that during the dark period, no light is leaking in. We'll get more into that in a future episode. Here is some strapping. I typically use this to secure the carbon filter or inline fan to the top of the grow tent. And lastly is the grow tent canvas. Okay, so the instruction manual will give you details on how to assemble the grow tent. I personally like to do it a little differently. First, I'm going to open up the canvas and find the bottom. Next, I'm going to assemble the frame of the grow tent, starting with the bottom pieces and actually placing them in the canvas, as shown here. Then I'm going to build up. By the way, these poles lock into place by simply pressing in the tab and inserting. I personally like to leave a few of the top poles off when putting the canvas over the frame. Then I'll connect the final 2 poles. This just makes it a little easier than if I were to completely assemble the frame. Sometimes it can be difficult to pull the top of the canvas over the frame. After that, I'll zip it up completely. These zippers are really smooth compared to other grow tents that I've had in the past. They also have a black lining to create a light-proof seal. The front of the grow tent has an observation window, so you can check on your plants without having to fully open the grow tent. For now, I'll cover the observation window. There are a few intake vents on this grow tent, which also have covers that I'll put on right now. I will need to leave at least one open when growing in the tent, so I'll roll one up and leave it open now. This grow tent has 2 support bars which go on top. These support bars are used to hang things such as the grow light, inline fan, and or carbon filter. When I open the grow tent, there is a piece of Velcro which holds the tent open. Here is the inside of the grow tent. It has 2 intake vents, 2 ventilation ports, and 1 electrical port on the bottom. The inside is lined with mylar, which is 98% reflective, so when the light hits the mylar, it will reflect off and onto the plants. On the top, there are 3 ventilation ports and 1 electrical port. There is also netting on the side here, which can hold things such as tools or feeding charts. And the last thing is a floor tray, sometimes called a spill tray. Each corner of the floor tray has a piece of Velcro that you can wrap around the grow tent poles to secure. Next, let's install the ventilation system. The ventilation system consists of an inline fan, a carbon filter, and ducting to connect it all together. This is a 203 CFM inline fan. CFM stands for cubic feet per minute, and it's also referred to as airflow. To put it simply, CFM is how much air a fan moves. 203 CFM in this 2 foot by 4 foot grow tent will be sufficient for ensuring the proper air exchange that the plants require. This particular inline fan has a variable speed controller, so you can reduce or increase airflow as necessary. Some growers will install the inline fan inside of the grow tent. I personally like to install it outside of the grow tent. So as you can see here, I'm mounting the inline fan to my wall, and then I've ran ducting from the grow tent to the inline fan, and then more ducting from the inline fan up and out of the room. The duct is secured to the inline fan by using the clamps that came with the duct. It's important that the air is exhausted outside of the grow room. This is because as air is being sucked out of the grow tent, fresh air is coming into the grow tent through the bottom intake vents. So if you were to just exhaust out of the grow tent but not out of the room, well then that same air would just come right back into your grow tent's intake vents. That could result in heat issues as well as a low CO2 level. So exhausting out of the room is the safer route. The last piece of the ventilation system is the carbon filter. A carbon filter will clean the air so the air being exhausted from your grow tent doesn't smell. A carbon filter isn't required, so if you don't care to hide the smell, then you don't have to use a carbon filter. I typically don't install the carbon filter until my plants are in the flowering stage because that's when they smell the strongest. But it is perfectly fine to run a carbon filter throughout the entire grow from seedling through flowering. It's your choice. As you can see here, I installed the carbon filter inside of the grow tent so air will flow through the carbon filter, past the inline fan, and then out of the room. For lighting, they sent me 2 clamp lamps and 2 LED grow lights. The clamp lamps can hold up to 150 watt bulbs. I will use these while the plants are seedlings, since seedlings don't need much light. Once the plants have been growing for 10 days or so, I'll switch to these LED grow lights. This VivoSun 300W LED grow light covers a 2 foot by 2 foot grow space, so I have 2 of them, one for each side of my 2 foot by 4 foot grow tent. This light consumes 135 watts from the wall, so 2 of them will consume 270 watts total. This light is sufficient for both the vegetation stage and the flowering stage. To hang the grow lights, I'm using rope ratchets. As the plants grow, the lights will need to be raised. These rope ratchets will make it easier to raise or lower the grow lights as necessary. I'm plugging the grow lights into a timer. This one is pretty easy to use. There are 8 different on-off programs you can set, and it has a backup battery so settings are saved even if there's a power outage. Okay, I've turned on the grow lights, and as you can see, everything looks purple. This can strain the eyes, so VivoSun sent me grow room glasses to protect my eyes. These glasses block UVA and UVB rays, alleviate glare, and reduce eye strain. For the remainder of the grow series, I'll use color correction and or daylight photography lights so you can clearly see the plants in normal lighting instead of this purple lighting. For air circulation, I'm installing 2 VivoSun oscillating fans. These oscillating fans are pretty cool because they clip directly onto the grow tent's pole. This certainly saves space. I typically like to have air circulating above the plants as well as below the plants, so here I have 2 oscillating fans for that. Also, having 2 oscillating fans will help ensure that there's always air circulation if one of the fans were to fail. If there is no air circulation in the grow environment, that would result in hot spots and humid spots in the grow tent, which can lead to things such as heat stress, powdery mildew, and bud rot. No bueno. There is a specific humidity range that is ideal for plants. I personally live in a very dry climate, so I need a humidifier to increase the humidity in my grow space. Here's the VivoSun humidifier. This 1.6 gallon humidifier has a few different features. You can set the mist to be warm, you can set different mist levels, and there's a timer on it. Some grows live in a climate that is naturally humid and therefore need a dehumidifier instead. A dehumidifier will reduce the humidity instead of add to it. When talking about temperature, some grows will use a heater and or air conditioner to raise or lower the temperature in their grow environment. I won't need either of those for this grow, since these LED grow lights produce enough heat to raise the temperature in my grow tent to the ideal level. We'll get more into what the ideal temperature and humidity is in the next episode. In order to monitor the temperature and humidity, VivoSun sent me 3 different temperature and humidity monitors. On all of them you can see the current temperature and humidity, as well as high and low numbers for the past 24 hours or all time. I'll place one inside of my grow tent so I can see the temperature and humidity when I'm inside it. I'll put the second one outside of my grow tent so I can know what the temperature and humidity is of the air going into the tent. And then the last one actually has a sensor on it, so I can place the sensor in the grow tent and then have the monitor in a different room, such as my bedroom. It's definitely helpful to be able to see the temperature and humidity without having to open my grow tent. Okay, so the grow equipment is now set up. Let's plant some seeds. I'm going to grow 3 plants from seed and we'll grow them in soil. Soil is just one medium that can be used. Plants can also be grown in other mediums such as coco coir, rock wool, perlite, just to name a few. Soil is arguably one of the easiest mediums to grow in, and this grow series is meant to be an easy one. I'll start growing the plants in these 4-inch nursery pots. These are great to start seedlings in, and then once they grow out of their containers, I will transplant them into 3-gallon fabric grow pots. I put moist soil into each nursery pot, leaving about an inch from the top of the cup. I do this in order to help prevent overflow when watering. This particular soil has nutrients already in it, and actually has enough nutrients for the first 20 to 40 days of the plant's life. I plant the seed in a small hole about 1/4 inch deep and cover the seed with soil. I don't pack the soil down. I'll then use this VivoSun 50-inch hand sprayer to spray the top of the medium. In order to help keep the soil moist, I'm placing plastic bags over the top of the nursery pots. I'll keep the bags in the cups until the seedlings sprout from the soil. In the next episode, the seedlings will emerge from the soil and we will do several things to them while they're in the vegetation stage, so stay tuned for that. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and click the bell to be notified when I release a new video. that's pretty much it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please click that thumbs up, and I will leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.